I put this talk to, first of all, I better tell you a couple of things. The first one is that, like Wayne, I am perpetually disappointed. Okay, and it's not because I'm a designer. I'm in fact a research scientist by training. I'm perpetually disappointed because I am a Sunderland season ticket holder. The second thing I'd like to tell you is that I did record Pick of the Pops with Alan Freeman in the 1960s. So I am old. And that's another thing that Wayne doesn't seem to appreciate. But anyway, there you go. I'd like to talk about three things this morning. The first one is a little bit of background on the way in which we in Procter & Gamble are considering design. I have my own personal view that, and it's the reason why I've taken myself slightly away from the laboratory, much more towards the business, much more towards the brands, and much more towards the way in which design impacts on the brands, because my view of the world is that all great creative thinking happens at boundaries. And my work in science has been enhanced a great deal by understanding a bit more about design, a lot more about engineering, and a lot more about the business. So that's my view. That's why I'm here, kindly invited by Gordon to talk a little bit about design and Procter & Gamble. The second thing I'd like to do is give you a couple of examples of the way in which design is impacting on us in an enormous way, because of the changing way in which people see their products around them. And then the third thing I'm going to do is give you a little bit of an indication of how you can get involved with a company like Procter & Gamble. We are a huge monolith. Historically, by the way, I would never have been stood here because we were tended to be pretty insular. We were rather secretive in the way that we operated. Much of the work that we did was internal, and now it's not. And I'd like to offer the opportunity for people who are in this room to help us deal with the things that we have as issues in our business. Right, when I put this slide together, designing for billions, that's a number, that's a sort of an amount which is seriously lost credibility, hasn't it? It used to sound like a big number, and now it sounds like a sort of ordinary kind of number. So I did think about calling it designing for trillions, but there aren't trillions yet in the world. Billions in terms of people, because we're global. And although, I sit here in Newcastle, we are a truly globally organized group of people. People in Newcastle work on the businesses for low-income markets as well as businesses for Western Europe. You need to bear that in mind when you deal with us, because we're not developing just for the Northeast, even though we sit here. And by the way, it's fantastic for me to be here, because I was born and brought up here. We've gone up from 60 to 70 billion just in the last 5 minutes, from what Gordon said, to be an $80 billion business, organized into a series of business units which operate as independent business units in many ways, but which utilize a whole variety of networks. And it's fantastic that a network should be put together here in the Northeast for design. The reason we operate through a lot of networks, by the way, is because innovation is a networking business. It's a connecting business, connecting problems with solutions. We've got $23 billion brands. You'll see these here, and we've got about another 20 brands which are sort of hovering between 750 million and $1 billion. You'll recognize some of those, and you won't recognize some others. In fact, the one on the end, Folgers, the coffee, we've just divested that one. Our problem is that we have to satisfy Wall Street, and our commitment to Wall Street is organic growth of 4 billion, roughly. I think they'd probably be okay if it was 3.5 billion, but it's between $3 billion and $5 billion a year. That's organic growth, excluding acquisitions, so excluding the purchase of Gillette, for example. Just to give you perspective on that, that's a Starbucks size every year. So what we have to do is create business growth on our existing brands, in our existing categories, of $4 billion a year. That is a problem. It's not an insoluble problem for us, I have to say. It could be thought of. It's, in my view, significantly less of a problem than these three gentlemen have right now. But don't get me on that one. I do have a point of view on this as well. So our problem is not as big as theirs, I think. Let me talk a little bit about what people want from our brands. Our brands are our business. The whole point of Procter & Gamble, I used to think, was products. But in fact, it's not. It's about building brand equity. And equity is something which creates loyalty in the people who buy the brand. In fact, what they tend to do is, even if your brand doesn't work quite as well once or twice while they're using it, they give you the benefit of the doubt. And that's why big brands maintain businesses the way they do, even in environments where they're under pressure from white labels, own labels, or whatever. What people used to want from our brands was really quite straightforward. And when I joined Procter & Gamble about 27 years ago, we had to deliver some very, very simple things. And this is what we had to deliver. Single-minded functionality in whichever brand it was. They usually had a simple, single brand equity, which we had to deliver. To give you an example, in Head & Shoulders, it was really quite straightforward. You had to reduce dandruff. In Ariel detergent, you had to remove stains. That was it. Functionality. We had to deliver superior value, where value is a combination of how it performs against how much it costs, and then we had to make them reliable, because people wouldn't pay extra for things which are unreliable. And that single-minded functionality really drove us, and this is one of the reasons why I joined Procter & Gamble, in the direction of science. Simple, straightforward technology. The application of new technology to deliver simple functional benefits. I brought some design icons. Remember this? How many people made something from one of these? You know? Fantastic. I just thought you'd like to see it. And this, of course, you know, performance and mileage. Just technology. I mean, the bottle's hardly designed, you know, for today's sophisticated world, is it? No. This wouldn't be perceived to be modern. It isn't. We purely concentrate on what went in it. And I think this is an important element of the way we've changed our approach to the world. I brought Flash along as well, by the way, because I suspect people have not seen Flash for a long time. It says on the back, this luxury household stepladder for only 59 and sixpence. Excellent. The nostalgia just washed over me as I was preparing this. Now, this is how we used to do it, therefore, and I won't go into any of the details here, although I often like to. We started making candles in 1837, and in fact the candle business today is about a $3 billion business around the world, and we're not in it. But that's where we started, and we started to learn about various technologies, including surfactant technologies and then calcium chemistry, and we've applied those technologies in lots and lots of different ways, but that's just not enough. It's just not enough today. What people want from P&G brands now is, in fact, completely different. They want products that speak to them as individuals. They want to feel as if those products are theirs, not just anybody's, but theirs. A great example of that in our business today is the way we've managed the Oil of Olay business. It's fairly well segmented. Everybody knows Oil of Olay. It's fairly segmented, but there are different bits of it that appeal to different groups of people. So we've become highly targeted. We understand the people, and by the way, I was just talking to somebody earlier about how important the consumer or the user of product is in the context of the design network. Maybe we should think a little bit about how to get those people involved early in the way this network works. But anyway,